Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Water Commission meeting of April 15th, 2021. This meeting will be called to order, and if you can please do the roll call.
Yes, Commissioner Cooney?
Present.
Commissioner Young is absent today. Vice Chair Davis?
Here.
Chair Keller?
Here.
And Council Liaison Sneddon?
Here.
Thank you.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Plessy, do you have any changes to the agenda?
No changes to the agenda, Chair Keller.
Thank you very much. Do we have any public comment at this moment?
Chair Keller, we do not have public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. So next we have 4 consent items: the meeting minutes, the introduction of an ordinance regarding the Proposition 1 Integrated Regional Water Management Grant Agreement for Regional Supply Pipeline Project, the introduction of an ordinance to amend Municipal Code Title 14 for the Sewer Lateral Inspection Program, and the Cachuma Conservation Release Board Fiscal Year 2021-2022 Budget Ratification. Does anyone want to have any discussion on these items? If not, can I have a motion to consider them?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, can we have the roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Cooney?
Yes.
Commissioner Young absent. Vice Chair Davis?
Yes.
And Chair Keller?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So next we will move to the administrative items. We have 3 of them. We'll start with the Water Resources Asset Management in the Information Age, which will be a very interesting topic. And Ms. Plessy, if you want to get us started. Or Mr. Ward.
Sure, I'm happy to get us started. Good morning, Chair Keller, Water Commissioners. I am Matt Ward, the Water System Manager, and I am pleased to have the opportunity to join this group of individuals who are going to present on the topic of asset management in the information age. You're going to get the opportunity to hear from a variety of staff. You can expect to see a lot of new faces. Much of the presentation is focused on the role of our planners, and there's also some other contributors that you'll enjoy, I believe. And you'll also get some outstanding photos that tell some great stories. And with that, I'll hand it off to Mr. Thomas Welch, Acting Wastewater System Manager.
Chair Keller, Water Commissioners, Mr. Ward, thank you for the introduction. Can we go next slide, please? My name is Thomas Welch. I'm the Acting Wastewater System Manager. We're going to be discussing how our organization has changed the way we work over the last 15 years. We're going to be showing you some of the tools we're using to implement our asset management programs in our 4 sections and introduce you to the professionals that really make our team successful. Next slide, please. On the slide, you can see a definition of the textbook version of asset management. And we have libraries full of documents, policies, manuals, detailing the minutiae of these programs, going over risk assessment, business and accounting practices, condition assessment, and life cycle cost management. And I could read those to you and describe that to you, but it doesn't really tell you the story of how our water resources teams adapted, how they've developed specialized programs to support their systems, and how our teams have changed the way they work and changed their work culture, and how we've implemented new technologies to support our staff and provide the Santa Barbara level of service our community expects. So we're going to be going through the development of these programs. You can see that in the diagram below, they've all followed the same pattern where they've identified the issues and assets and then developed their programs around them. The programs are developed specifically to meet the challenges of the systems they're supporting. Some of the challenges and issues being our water distribution systems over 120 years old, and it's mostly buried in the public right-of-way. Our treatment plant has continually had to adapt to the ever-changing water treatment regulatory requirements, and our collection system requires constant maintenance cleaning to stay flowing clearly. And El Estero, the wastewater treatment plant, has pivoted into a water resource center, producing over half its own energy on site and recycling effluent. All the programs are different, but their main goals are the same: providing excellent service to the community as efficiently as possible. Next slide, please. One of the main differences you're going to see today is the programs we're using to support these programs. It's the software. El Estero and Cater are using Maintenance Connection. It's a purpose-built for managing maintenance programs of complex facilities like treatment plants. Water distribution and collections use Cartograph OMS. It's a GIS-based system which allows us to project our assets and work on a map of the city and coordinate amongst ourselves and other departments that are also using Cartograph. Next slide, please. As we began to develop these asset management practices in our work groups, we realized that our field crews could not effectively support their programs with their current job roles. It takes a really specific skill set when we're needing someone to be a CMMS administrator, an inventory manager, an in-house procurement specialist, capital program coordinator, and a maintenance expert. So the planner scheduler position was created. The most basic function we need our planners to support is to maintain the records of what we own. Once we have that valid understanding of what we own, we develop programs to best maintain and repair it. Work orders allow us to track the who, what, when, where, and why, and most importantly, the how much around our work. Inventory control, procurement, managing complex work plans are all about providing our field staff with the tools they need to be successful and work effectively. Now that our programs have evolved into the most recent paperless forms, our field staff are able to collect much more data, significantly more efficiently, and with less manual data entry. That's freed up our planners to do much more analysis of the data and turn it into valid information that we can use to make smarter decisions. Next slide, please. At this point, I'd like to introduce Todd Heldorn, the superintendent for El Estero. Todd's preparing to retire this year, and at his last budget meeting with Paul Casey, the city administrator, he was asked what his proudest accomplishment of his career was, and he said it was developing this asset management program. Todd's been a mentor to me in my career, and he's always been a champion of asset management since we started. So I can't think of anyone better to give you a history of how we got here than him. Todd.
Thanks, Thomas, and good morning, Chairman Keller, Water Commissioners, and Council Liaison. Yeah, in this photo, this is me in 1998. This is 8 years into my career as an operator. 7 years prior to start of an asset management program at El Estero. I was standing inside our recycled water reservoir at this time. We were probably cleaning it out, getting it ready for repairs. As you can see, that curtain is ripped and it's out of its track. Back then, if something was broke, it needed to be fixed, and a lot of stuff needed to be fixed. So, goes to show we didn't really have a PM program that was organized. We did do PM preventative maintenance tasks as operators, but no organized program. So by default, we were running a reactive run to failure maintenance program. Of course, we didn't know that's what it was called. So this led to, there was a lot of friction between the operations staff and the maintenance staff. They didn't have the tools and process to perform the work they needed to do, and they often blamed each other. So morale suffered. Next slide, please. So the photo on the left, this is our hydrogrider, and this photo was taken before my time, but I'd seen that site as an operator. That's pretty exciting. It's an emergency. There's never a dull moment. So we didn't have a really calm work environment a lot. I guess the history of the plant is that it started with no maintenance or technician support. And you might ask why, and I guess the powers that be thought, why would you need technician support? The stuff's under warranty. so we were behind the 8 ball maintenance-wise. And as a result, you had, you know, the photo on the right is downstairs in the grit pump room from that hydrogritter is a pretty common sight. And in this photo, you have a younger version of Herman, our current treatment supervisor, and his predecessor, Vince Penmantel. You know, you can see Vince, he doesn't look that stoked to have his picture taken. And, you know, he's standing in raw sewage. This was a common sight as an operator. And, you know, maybe they had parts. Most likely they didn't have the parts. And oftentimes they had to rob parts off other pumps to, you know, get stuff running. Next slide, please. So here's a good series of photos. Yes, good title, Deteriorated Equipment. The left, that's a rotted out impeller, which obviously hasn't been inspected anytime in any kind of history. Sure they were wondering why output was low, definitely. The middle picture is, that's a photo that's, yeah, brings back memories, but we had a name for that. It was Satan's, I can't say, you guys guess. Your guess is probably pretty good. And it was familiar, and it happened frequently. This is what lines look like when they're greased up solid. So we had to dismantle the pump discharge piping and suction piping, clean it out with, you know, hand tools, and then we called the Vactor in to run the main lines. We actually upgraded a facility and had a whole new pump station installed to eliminate the problem. But, you know, that grease still persists in the lines. And actually now we have a future CI project in the works in the future to help deal with this grease buildup. On the right, this is just a lot of hair, debris, plug and pump. This is really common sight. We cleaned a lot of this stuff out, but we didn't have an upstream effective screening removal system to remove the debris at the wastewater entering the from the wastewater entering the plant. That was a serious issue at the wastewater plant. Caused a lot of issues. Next slide. And, you know, as a result, you had Herman again. He's on the left-hand photo. He's probably cleaning out the hair, or he's probably done that, and he's got to make the repairs. And technicians had to do this quite frequently. And it was not uncommon for a technician in this situation to be pulled away in the middle of a job to respond to another emergency. So, you know, on the case, that emergency could look like something on the right here with Vince on Friday the 13th back in '95. He's looking almost knee in waist deep in raw sewage there at the influent pump station. And that's definitely emergency level type work there. That's pretty bad. And, you know, we often reacted, you know, we thought we were heroes. We were doing heroic things, really, but also we were victims in a way too to this work environment. Next slide, please. And this is kind of the example of some improvements. And on the far left, you have an old employee, a friend of mine, co-worker, as Craig Washburn back in '95. And he's actually, this is an improved process. We got a vacuum system. We were able to remove some rags, try to help out. And Vince designed this thing, but you know, that first floor, we had to rake the rags into the vacuum that you can see on that mid-left photo. And this thing was fraught with what we call single points of failure. So if something went wrong with that vacuum hose or that vacuum, you know, it was emergency. We had to get those rags out of there. It was never ending, never stopping. And, you know, Jim Armstrong, during this whole project upgrade process, he asked me about it one time, and he's like, "Oh, that's that Rube Goldberg contraption, isn't it?" And I'm all, yeah, that's what we're working on. And, you know, it still is a Rube Goldberg contraption, but, you know, it's much more modernized, as you can see by those two photos on the right. And this is our new bar screen and a washer compactor system. It's a great example of how our CIP projects have been informed by our asset management principles. This Headworks upgrade project is the most significant improvement to the wastewater process and has the most positive impact on staff's work environment. You know, a lot less debris plug-in pumps and plug-in channels and causing issues downstream. So with this design, you know, they involved staff's input, and that's one of those asset management principles. And we worked to try to eliminate single points of failure, engineer out the hazards for personnel, and keep maintenance in mind with the design, and eliminate single points of failure. There's still one visible in that far left picture, and that's that kind of big long conveyor that sticks up at an angle, that stainless steel conveyor. And but you know, we have our preventative maintenance program. We have tasks to inspect it. We'll replace wear parts as necessary, and we have critical parts on hand if something were to go wrong, so that we have a reliable unit. Next slide, please. So this is examples of some improvements also. And the left is result of no PM program, no inspections being performed. This is what we called a flight train wreck. And it's really costly to have this happen, of course. And it takes a long time to repair, and it's a lot of work for, you know, the Vences and the Hermans and our technicians. And it takes a process out, the tank out, so it elevates your risk. So the middle picture is an example of a well-maintained clarifier system. And we have, you know, PM tasks that are regularly scheduled. The guys will go in and they'll check chain tension and check the tolerances and the wear parts and replace them if they need it. You know, nowadays I only find these boring pictures of like tape measures up to parts and stuff like that. And so, you know, that's the ideal, you know, nice, clean, well-functioning process units. And as an end result, you have this photo on the right. And it's an example of El Estero's ability to produce high-quality effluent without equipment failures and emergencies impacting treatment. That's some clear water. Gotta like that. Next slide, please. And here's another beautiful sunset over the secondary process at El Estero. And I guess to answer the question, you know, why do we have asset management El Estero? You know, back in the old days, El Estero was in dire straits. We needed a system to provide the tools and organization to lead us into a brighter future, taking us from a reactive run-to-failure mode of maintenance to a proactive preventative maintenance mode. And you can see the quote there, that's Rebecca Bjork. She commented on an operations report recently. Days are always more enjoyable with a well-functioning treatment plant, she wrote. And I totally agree. And I also might add that the days are always more enjoyable with a well-functioning work culture too. And we can thank asset management and asset management principles for that. And I'd also like to thank Rebecca for having the foresight to hire the consultant to begin the asset management program at El Estero 15 years ago. That was great. And that's it for my slides. But I'd like to introduce Thomas again. He's gonna present on behalf of Steve Corral, our maintenance planner and scheduler, who couldn't make it here today, unfortunately. You know, Steve, he's the glue that holds the asset management program together. He's a really hardworking guy, and he plays a key role in the successful operations and maintenance at El Estero and the 7 city lift stations. So I'll let Thomas explain further. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Before I was in my recent role as acting manager, I've spent the last 10 years as chief operator of El Estero. And one of my key roles is to work with Steve. So I've been proud to work with him for the last 7 years that he's been a planner. He's, like Todd said, he's taken our program to a level that we only dreamt of all those years ago. And Steve has an incredible attention to detail, a discipline and attitude that's so suited to this role. We really, like Todd said, we wouldn't be here without him. Next slide, please. So on the picture on the right, you can see one of our pumping systems at El Estero and called out some of our asset tags. And these tags, there's a smart numbering system on there that is used throughout maintenance connection. It's on our construction drawings, it's on our manuals, and even in our operating procedures. So once an asset gets tagged in our system, we can start to track it. We can create maintenance tasks for it, develop spare parts lists, even order replacement units to have as backups. And now with mobile technology, our staff can be in the field, plug in that equipment number into the system, and find all the history related to that piece of equipment and see how it relates to the rest of the system out in the field, create work orders, and look up parts. Next slide, please. Work orders are how we plan our work and track all the costs related to the maintenance. Todd mentioned earlier, there's kind of two modes we're in, proactive and reactive. And so those are the two main types of work orders we have. Proactive work orders can be oil changes, pump deraggings, or just visual inspections. These work orders are pre-populated with all the tasks required, parts lists, special tools required, time estimates, and other special instructions. This level of detail helps our technicians prepare for their jobs, and they can cross-reference our inventory to make sure they have everything they need to accomplish their work before leaving the shop. Reactive work orders are created when issues are discovered, and they're important to track so we can fine-tune our proactive maintenance program. Next slide. Inventory is where Steve has been spending the most of his time recently, and really where he's had the biggest success improving our workflow. Like Todd mentioned earlier, it's not uncommon to have to go on a scavenger hunt when something broke down. You might need to go shopping, hit a couple stores, contact suppliers, or even rob parts off of other equipment to try and get a pump running again. Now all of our critical assets have their spare parts identified and are linked within the system. Steve's built up our inventory so that we're never without a critical part. Some parts have up to 6-month lead times, so figuring out which ones we need in stock and which ones we can rely on our vendors helps us coordinate our workflow better. And it was a huge undertaking to go through that. All of our inventory uses standard naming conventions, like you can see on the right, so it's really easy to search our system. And staff can look up a part attached to a work order and find the exact location of that part in a bin, like in the left picture. That's one of our 4 containers, or in our large part shelves in the middle picture. We've also identified consumables, things that we use a lot of, that we need to keep in stock, and have developed a streamlined process for checking them out and maintaining their inventory. Next slide, please. Having a functioning asset management program has improved the reliability and performance of our equipment, reduced emergency repairs, and allowed the treatment plant to operate efficiently. Our operators and technicians are more effective in their jobs because they have the tools and information they need. And we've been able to develop the information required to plan successful upgrades like the Headworks project that Todd mentioned, or our secondary upgrades. Next slide, please. At this point, I'd like to introduce Andrew Rhodes, Superintendent for Cater, and he'll take it up from here.
Thank you, Thomas. Chair Keller, Commissioners, Liaison Sneddon. Just want to talk briefly about the asset management CMMS implementation for the water treatment section. The facilities that includes is the Wimby Cater Water Treatment Plant, the Ortega Groundwater Treatment Plant, and the hydroelectric plant. And we are relative newcomers to a properly implemented and supported CMMS program, and hired our scheduler planner, Clark Simons, in January of 2020, so a little over a year ago, with a kickoff to the CMMS the following week. And I wanted to touch base on some of the benefits that we've experienced from El Estero leading the way, developing a top-notch CMMS asset management program. First, we use the same CMMS software, Maintenance Connection. So they did a lot of research and found a really good product that's really comprehensive. That software is hosted locally on the same city IT supported server. And we're actually able to implement it under El Estero's existing software license. So there's been some significant cost savings being able to do that utilizing the same software license. From a resource standpoint, El Estero's staff, specifically Todd, Thomas, Steve, and Herman, have been extremely helpful fielding the many questions that we've had through our first year getting the system up and running. Two aspects of the new system that I'm really excited about from my chair is the improved budgeting and better forecasting of upcoming expenses and the reporting capabilities that CMS provides. Next slide, please. With that, I'd like to hand it over to Clark Simons, the Water Treatment Section's Planner Scheduler.
Thank you, Andrew. Chair Keller and Water Commissioners, my name is Clark Simons. I am the Water Treatment Planner at Cader Water Treatment Plant. I was hired in January 2020, as Andrew said. This photo of me was actually taken shortly after I learned that I got the job, so it brings back a lot of happy memories. My previous experience includes being a maintenance tech at Diablo Canyon Nuclear Power Plant. I've also worked at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival. I like to utilize new technologies into the maintenance planning here at Cader, and I really like to incorporate my photography into procedures in our database. Next slide, please. Implementation. Over the past year, we've organized our assets, procedures, maintenance schedules, inventory into Cader's database. This screenshot is the example asset record that we have on our database. This is for our South Coast Conduit pump number 4. And as we are continuing to build out this database, we are adding additional relevant data. You can see there's model number, serial number, we have install dates, and then we also attach the relevant critical parts and a little photo too, to make sure people know exactly what they're working on. No information is better than bad information. I heard that a lot when I started. Steve Carell told me that many times. It is really important that we maintain a high standard for the data that we put into our database, and I want to keep it going. Next slide, please. So the impact of Maintenance Connection. It is great. We can now plan and forecast our maintenance well into advance in the next years to come. We can automate the scheduling for those maintenance and also create notifications for completed work orders or maintenance requests. We can assign and track work progress. Makes it very simple for our chief operator to assign work. Our staff can provide real-time updates to the work that they do in the field. And we can use the data that the staff collect to create relevant reports that present the data as useful information. And then once we have those reports and information, we can make adjustments to our maintenance planning and scheduling. Next slide, please. Actually, previous slide, please. So this photo is actually during our maintenance last year. We have Mitchell Chua, one of our operators, cleaning out the rainbows in our sedimentation basin. Next slide, please. So future improvements. I've been looking always to ways to improve our maintenance planning. Currently, I'm working on a custom asset inventory tagging system utilizing QR codes. I think they'll be great for our staff to be able to simply scan a tag with our mobile devices and make sure they can easily access the record in our database quickly. I've created shortcuts so our staff can easily find the maintenance connection and access it on our mobile devices. So you can see a little example next to the camera app above the QR code pictures. Our mobile devices are great for gathering data in the field. And one of the ways I want to make sure that maintenance connection works seamlessly is I'm also working to expand the Wi-Fi network around Cader. And I'm really excited to continue building this database at Cader, and I believe it will continue to have a very positive impact in our maintenance planning going into the future. And now I have the pleasure to introduce Water Distribution Superintendent Teresa Lancy.
Good morning, Chair Keller, Commissioners, Council Member Liaison Sneddon. I just put up some of the stats on our system. There's even more than that. We have many valves, meters, hydrants, an entire reservoir that we also maintain. And so part of our asset management challenges are looking at a system that is spread out throughout our entire service area and making sure that we are able to track what we're doing when and be able to do that over a wide area as opposed to something that's a little bit more condensed like a treatment plant. And next slide, please. This subject is sort of near and dear to my heart because when I moved from the water supply group to water distribution, I served as their first ever planner scheduler. And at that time, we were working on our first phase of asset management, and we were looking at all of our facilities, our reservoirs, our pump stations, our groundwater wells, and seeing what sort of condition that they were in, looking at the likelihood of failure, the consequence of failure, and what overall risks that we had. From there, we moved into looking at our pipeline assets and developing a risk-based tool that we're still running today to help us with prioritizing water mains for replacement for our capital improvement projects. And then from there, we moved to our overall water distribution infrastructure plan that looked at the overall system as a whole and various operating scenarios and how that impacts our assets and which allows us to come up with a 30-year long-term plan of what sort of maintenance and asset management needs are we going to do over the long-term horizon. But I also want to emphasize that this is a continuous process. We're going to continue to do asset management until people don't need water delivered to them anymore. And hopefully that's never. And on the right, you can see a screenshot from our CMMS, Cartograph OMS. And this is what's known as a dashboard. And this has various metrics of things that we do. So part of our performance measures are on this dashboard, which for me in my role is extremely helpful. I can look and see, hey, how far are we on a particular P3 measure just at a glance by using our CMMS. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our planner scheduler, Nick Galati, who's been doing a tremendous job in this role.
Thank you, Teresa. Good morning, Chair Keller, Water Commissioners, Liaison Sneddon. My name is Nick Galati. I'm the Water Distribution Maintenance Planner. I've been with Water Distribution for about 8 years and in this position for the last 4. I've assisted with the implementation upgrade within the CMMS. Along with kind of the analysis side, I assisted with the customization of system structure and automations. I ensure asset creation and scope of work is captured for CIP planning. I also work with various city staff to make sure GPS data of water distribution assets are properly collected during construction projects for mapping updates. And I regularly meet with different technical groups to review and refine workflows, as well as assist with training. Next slide, please. OMS has a very powerful user interface for our operations staff, dispatch, and other working groups. The GIS integration allows you to see very detailed information about our water mains, valves, meters, hydrants, storage tanks, etc. Excuse me, without having to carry around, a bunch of different maps or atlases. It's all on your tablet, very easy to see. You're able to enter data and make changes to size or material in the field very easily. So as you know, a lot of our assets are in the public site. So we get a lot of calls from the public, and we enter those as requests in the system. Requests are entered instantly and can be seen on the customer service iPad. We can organize and track those calls, keep caller records, and check on the status of those calls. Another functionality of this is to be able to capture the work history on assets. it really helps crews solve issues when you're able to see what was done, you know, on a meter, or when that pump was maintenance last, or the engine or the motor oil was changed last, and really helps us capture that institutional knowledge of past work. Next slide, please. And so this system has kind of helped us join the paperless revolution. On the left, you know, we used to have to write daily tasks with our times, our equipment, very time consuming to produce, as well as reference the work that we did. I mean, trying to go back and figure out what happened 6 months ago to go dig in a box was kind of a nightmare. But now everything has been replaced with, you know, doing that has been replaced with tablets and smartphones, as you can see in the center picture. We can easily organize tasks, send to our operators, and they have all that information in one place, and we can easily, you know, pull up a report on that, as you see on the right. Next slide, please. So another process that's become digitized for us is kind of how we update our water system maps. You know, again, not too long ago, we used to still mark up, printed maps with pen and paper drawings. You know, possibility of information being lost or misinterpreted. You know, locations weren't that accurate. You know, just not very good process. So next slide, please. So we've kind of expanded our asset management program to use GPS technologies during our installations. As you can see on the left, we have one of our operators collecting sub-centimeter accuracy points during this installation. So basically what that means is, you know, he could go out, bury a dime on that beach, take that point, you know, come back, hand that unit off to myself or any one of you, and you could actually go find that dime on that beach. That's how accurate these units are. And so they take the points using the center picture, using our web-based ArcGIS collector app. In the bottom right, you can see 4 valves that were taken with the cross. And then as you move up the left of the map, there's the pipe with a couple 45-degree bends in it. And then, so then as tasks are being completed by those operators in the field, that automates triggers to send emails to our GIS department, where our GIS personnel can upload those shape files to our mapping system and push that back out to our GIS for other departments to view, as you can see on the right. Next slide, please. Another functionality of this system is using the work order records. We're able to roll up many tasks involved with a project or emergency in a work order. We use work orders a lot for our main breaks and our service leaks. You know, you have many different people working on many different activities, sometimes during these events. As you see on the right, you know, there wasn't an issue with the main. It was also, we also had to replace a water service or, you know, repair a valve during this, you know, and so being able to roll up those costs really allows us to see what the true cost is for these emergencies. And then as tasks are completed in these work orders, as I mentioned earlier, we have automations that help produce water loss and outage times based on the times that a lot of these tasks are being completed. So that way we can, you know, report on these water losses, you know, as a regulatory requirement. Next slide, please. And then kind of another way that we're kind of leveraging technology here is through systems integrations. You know, we've integrated our billing system with OMS. So You know, someone might come out, see, see their water meter full of water, you know, and they might forget to call in and put in a request, but, you know, our water meter readers can go out there, see that, enter that issue into their handheld that can create a task in our OMS, creates a task for our field crews to respond. And then hopefully maybe by the next time that person goes out to their water meter, they see a nice, clean, resolved water meter. So we're actually able to, perform these functions through these integrations, and that's been a very big help with us. And we kind of hope to see more of that in the future, as OMS is very integration friendly. So in conclusion, these systems aren't just helping us manage our assets, but kind of as the name implies, helping us manage our operations and kind of really helping this division become more proactive. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Thomas.
Thank you, Nick. Next slide, please. At this point, we're going to be, I'd like to introduce Rob Johns and Matt Lombardi, our wastewater collection system planner schedulers, and they're going to continue the presentation from here.
Thank you, Thomas. Good morning, Chair Keller and Water Commissioners. My name is Robert Johns. I have been the wastewater maintenance planner scheduler at El Estero since 2019 for the collection system for the city of Santa Barbara. The main focus of my job is to quality control the cleaning findings reported by field staff, as well as review additional information to ensure the collection system is cleaned accordingly. To do this, I review available cleaning data, acoustic scoring, and any available visual inspection information, and research past history associated with the main. These additional methods of validation I use can help me assess and verify that each of the mains are assigned on the appropriate cleaning frequency and program. But before I go any further depth into my role, I would like to introduce Matt Lombardi, who is also a maintenance planner scheduler for the collection system here at El Estero, whose focus is on CCTV inspection data and CIP projects. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Rob. Good morning, Chair Keller, Water Commissioners, and Liaison Sneddon. My name is Matt Lombardi. I'm the wastewater collection system CCTV planner scheduler, and I've been with the city for 15 years, and my current position in the last 4. I oversee our CCTV program, and in my position, I work closely with wastewater staff and other city divisions to help prioritize and manage the CCTV workload for future capital. My job focus is to really manage the CCTV inspection data and really confirm that the data being collected in the field is coded to a certain standard and is accurate. Next slide, please.
So in this picture, it shows the collection system throughout the city of Santa Barbara. The system is composed of over 6,200 mains that total more than 252 miles. The cleaning programs assigned to maintain the system consist of root control programs, accelerated cleaning programs due to past cleaning findings, as well as longer duration system-wide cleanings. Due to not being able to accomplish the task of cleaning the entire system every year, we've created a cleaning program that assigns each main to a cleaning frequency and a program to optimize this task. Next slide, please. Here's a picture of a collection system employee with a Vactor vehicle who is part of a 2-person minimum team assigned to each cleaning task. The pie chart on the right shows the percentage of the mains associated with each of the cleaning frequencies. Please note that 62% of the system's mains are cleaned at least once a year, if not more. And because of this, it's important to be sure that the resources of field staff, vehicles, and water is used efficiently to validate that each main is categorized correctly into the correct cleaning frequency and program. This is extremely important to consistently improve our service to the community of Santa Barbara and can help protect the environment from sewer spill overflows, also known as SSOs. Next, please. Using Cartograph OMS is a huge benefit to us because of its ability to assist in the progression of the planner scheduler position. OMS has done this by allowing more time for analysis and assessment of the asset. The picture on the left shows a number of Cartograph Navigator cleaning packets that had to be created, assigned, tracked, and then manually entered before any assessment of cleaning findings could be performed. The middle picture is of an atlas which field staff would have to reference the location of mains throughout the city of Santa Barbara. All this paperwork can now be prepared, stored, and accessed via tablet, smartphone, or laptop. The third picture shows field staff using a single tablet to enter cleaning findings while performing their job function. The transition from Cartograph Navigator to Cartograph OMS has allowed the planner scheduler to invest more time and effort into the reviewing and analyzing of the data rather than creating and tracking the workload. This has enabled every planner and scheduler, regardless of which asset they assist to manage, more time to critically think and make better decisions regarding asset management. Next slide, please. Here we have pictures showing the sewer line rapid assessment tool, also known as the SLRAT, used in acoustic testing, and the JET scan used to obtain JET scan video. The picture on the left is a portion of the SLRAT. This tool is composed of two components, one transmitter and one receiver. The SLRAT is used primarily on 6 to 8 inch diameter mains to obtain an acoustic rating of the main based on a reading between 0 and 10, 0 being blocked and needing immediate cleaning, whereas 10 denoting clear. So visual inspection information can be obtained by reviewing a JET scan video of the main. The middle picture shows the JET scan and the housing unit, and the picture on the right shows the JET scan attached to the end of a cleaning nozzle ready to be sent into the sewer main for recording. These are two additional methods used in collections asset management to help verify the condition of the main to ensure it is on the correct cleaning frequency and cleaning program. Now, I would like to have Matt Lombardi discuss more of his work.
Thank you, Rob. CCTV equipment, inspection equipment. This slide shows our two main methods used to perform CCTV inspection. The first three pictures starting from your left to the right is our CCTV van. The CCTV van is our closed circuit inspection van and is our first preferred method. It's deployed daily for condition assessment to investigate and monitor the condition of the pipe segments. The city and our CCTV operators use the industry standard National Association of Sewer Service, NASCO, which is a pipeline assessment certification program, PACP. This is a pipe defect coding system for recording defects identified during a CCTV inspection. This provides the most accurate and high quality data and helps for future CIP planning purposes. This method is coded in the field and the inspections are synced daily to our IT Pipes cloud database. The second tool on picture on the far right is our CCTV push camera. The push camera is a portable unit to inspect pipe segments the CCTV van cannot and where access is an issue. Although the push camera provides a similar outcome to the van, it has its limitations on length that can be surveyed and has to be PACP coded in the office at a later time. Next slide, please. CCTV management software. So IT Pipes is our CCTV capture software that is used by field operators to perform the condition assessment using the PACP standards. The CCTV results are stored and reviewed on our centralized cloud database. This provides easy access to retrieve and review the data. InfoMaster is our decision logic tool. The tool uses the overall PACP data collected in the field and determines the best course of action for each pipe and provides a list for future capital improvement projects. The focus and importance of my job is really to ensure the CCTV data submitted is to the industry standard. This overall is what drives and helps prioritize data for the decision-making process, future CIP projects, and provides for a more reliable system to extend our budget. Next slide.
So in closing, Cartograph OMS allows the City of Santa Barbara staff the ability to improve how we manage our assets through teamwork by the collaboration of efforts amongst coworkers, the improvement of our customer service to the community by responding to community needs and demands, and to safeguard the environment by keeping the streets, ocean, creeks, and waterways clean. The City of Santa Barbara collection team has shown how dedication, hard work, and focusing on goals to improve asset management can lead to impressive results. This is a graph from our recent sanitary sewer management plan audit showing how the performance of the City of Santa Barbara collection team has improved compared to other agencies in California. The benchmark being shown is related to sewer overflows per 100 miles of pipe. The City of Santa Barbara is represented by the green line, and the comparable agencies are shown by the blue and orange lines. You can see we have significantly reduced our sewage spill overflow rate and are actually operating in a range lower than the average comparable agency. Here's a picture of the Santa Barbara collection staff showing the trophy given to them for the 2019 CWEA Medium Collection System of the Year Award. With that, I'd like to turn it back over to Thomas.
Next slide, please. So thank you to the entire team. In closing, we've shared with you today foundations of our programs and some of our overarching goals. The programs do look quite different as they've evolved to meet their specific needs of their systems. But these programs give our staff a framework to continue to grow, learn, and improve. And as one section implements new technologies, the others can learn from that and bring it to their section. I know our collection staff are really interested in the high accuracy GPS data that distribution's using. And I look forward to seeing how QR codes are working up at Cater so we can potentially implement them at Cater, or at El Estero. This is an exciting time for us to be in water. And now that our staff have the data available and the ability to analyze it, we're able to optimize how we use our resources and more effectively plan for the future. Thanks.
Yeah, I also want to add, thanks to all the presenters, but also obviously you can see the spillover benefits that we've had from the One Water initiative that we've been working on. And with that, we'll take any questions.
Thank you very much. This was a great overview, especially starting off from, where we were many, many years ago to where we are, which is amazing, how much we've gone forward. And it's really great to see all of this. Yes, Commissioner Cooney.
Yeah, I was just wondering with the CCTV data, that seems like it would be like a lot of information to store. How do you guys make the decision about that raw footage? Like, do you keep it for a certain amount of time? Does it depend on like what the findings are for each specific, I guess, data package? That was just sort of something that stood out as a potential complicating decision.
Yeah, so we've kept everything from 2009 and previous. The data wasn't coded as accurate, and over the past few years, we've really narrowed it down and used those PACP standards. Everything is really kept for capital, so it's really never getting rid of. We constantly just keep stacking that data. And as we get new data, we may push out old data to just kind of look where we started and where we ended, but it's all stored.
Interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Yes, Councilmember Snedden.
Thank you, Chair Keller. Is it appropriate now to make a comment, or is it just for questions at this time?
Oh, please do so.
I just want to thank you. You really are doing heroes work, and it's often really hidden heroes work. And this is a great presentation. It's so clear that you work together as a team, not just with each other, but for each other and for the city. And just really heartfelt thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Yes, Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, I would echo those same sentiments. I found the presentation to be really informative. I really basically enjoyed meeting all the staff. I mean, we just don't get to get out in the field and meet you guys. So this has been fantastic. It brought to life a system which is the lifeblood of the community in that regard. It makes us the community that we are, and I'm very proud of the achievements. I thought that graph on the SSOs, the comparative graph, the amount of achievement that you've made in a relatively short period of time, it's really, really, really impressive. The parts facility at El Estero, I've been through El Estero many times. I had no idea. I mean, that was just, again, that whole process of maintenance control and asset management at El Estero, I was really blown away with. And just lastly, right, the emphasis, and Thomas, you started with it, but it was throughout of being proactive rather than being reactive. And again, most of you know I worked for the city for 25 years back in the day, in the reactive periods of the time. So I am just really impressed with the system you put in place and all the work that you've done and the people that today made a great presentation. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Commissioner Davis. Yeah, we got to give a ton of credit to those planners that you saw. They do so much work, and without them, we could not have the data sets that we're working with now to make these decisions and help us improve.
Yeah, the results we're seeing are really a testament to the staff. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you to all the team. Thank you very much. Do we have any public comment?
Chair Keller, let me pull up the public comment timer slide just in case. Give it a few seconds. Okay, we don't have public comment at this time.
Okay, well, thank you again. All right, so our second item is a presentation on the forward lateral software services. Ms. Fair.
Actually, I get the pleasure of introducing this. Good
Okay,
morning.
thank you very much, Ms. Taylor.
Good morning, Chair Keller, Commissioners, and Liaison SNED, and I'm Kathy Taylor, the Water Supply and Service Manager. Our sewer lateral inspection program was created in 2007. This was in response to an increase in private and public sewer spills that were caused by privately owned sewer laterals. And our sewer lateral inspection program, it continues to grow and develop in response to the community's needs. And we are focused on making this program very customer-centric by streamlining our processes and assisting and educating and informing our customers throughout the process. So we're really pleased today to introduce a new software platform that we've been testing. We plan to make it a standard for the program, and we think that it will be another helpful tool for our customers. And with that, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Galen Fair, who is our Water Quality Superintendent.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Good morning, Chair Keller, Commissioners, and Liaison Snedden. As Ms. Taylor mentioned, we will be talking about forward lateral today. Next slide. So just a little bit of background, or what we're going to be discussing today is a little bit of background on our sewer lateral inspection program. We gave you guys a presentation last week, so we'll just touch on some of those things again this month, not last week, and then we'll go into forward lateral. Next slide. So just a reminder on what a sewer lateral is. It is the buried pipe that connects a house or building to the publicly owned sewer main, and it is privately owned infrastructure, and the property owners are responsible for maintaining their private sewer lateral and Y connection. I'm really pleased that this the presentation prior to this one flows so well with this. As you heard from one of our wastewater staff, I don't recall which, we have, I believe it was Mr. Johns, we have 252 miles of sewer main. So in comparison, we've got roughly 300 miles of private owned sewer laterals. So there's a challenge that the SLIP team has with managing private infrastructure and cooperating and facilitating that with our property owners. So that's one of the challenges we have that we're hoping that software will address. Next slide. A little bit about the SLIP history. It was originated in 2006, but the program didn't go in until 2007, as Ms. Taylor said. And it was really to address the failing laterals and increase public awareness to maintain their own private infrastructure. And the program requires property owners to inspect their private laterals under certain conditions, and I'll go through those in a second. And we really are listening to the community and what their needs are in response to our program. It is a very aggressive program compared to other agencies, but we really are looking to have a clean environment, not have any sewer spills, private sewer lateral spills, et cetera. So we're listening to the community and what their challenges are when they do get a letter, when they are trying to figure out their repair options. So we're here, we're listening, and we're changing our program and making sure that everything is addressed. Next slide. So inspections are triggered by some of the following. Actually, these are all of the things that inspections are triggered by. Permit initiated. So if somebody has applied for an ADU, if they are adding 400 square feet or more, or if they're adding 2 or more plumbing fixtures to their property. And the reason this is important is we really want to make sure that a property owner's lateral has enough capacity or the condition is in a good working order to be able to take on that additional capacity. Another trigger is a private sewer lateral spill. If that occurs, clearly something is going on in the lateral. So we want to make sure that that gets inspected and the problem gets repaired. Another item is a defect observed at a connection during city main inspection. So Mr. Lombardi had spoken about all of the CCTV data that we do on our sewer mains. And the picture in the middle there is actually from one of our cameras as we were inspecting a sewer main. So we see this big root ball and we know that it's coming from a defect in a connection. So in one of those cases, we will then send a letter, an inspection letter to a property owner saying, hey, we've noticed a defect at the connection. There may be additional issues. Let's get your lateral inspected. And then the last trigger is our commercial program. So we have a 10-year inspection cycle for all of our commercial properties. If you recall last month when we were here, we are hoping to push that out to 15 years. It's just a little bit more feasible. And we will be going to ordinance committee next week to get that adopted, hopefully, or introduced, excuse me. Next slide. So again, a reminder of what the SLIP process is. You receive an inspection notification letter based on those triggers I just spoke about. Property owner will hire a city certified CCTV inspector, and we have a list of those certified inspectors on our website. And all of the plumbing inspectors who have gone through our certification program are on that list. And that really gives us a chance to tell them what we need to see in those inspection videos. The plumber will then send the video to the city in some way, and we will review it. And then if any defects or repairs are required, we will send a repair notification letter. Property owner will then hire a plumber or contractor to do the repairs, and upon completion, they will be issued a certificate of compliance. So the area where this forward lateral software is really going to benefit us is where in between the inspection letter notification and getting the CCTV inspection completed, submitting it to the city. So that second bubble there, that's really where the software is going to benefit us and the property owner and the plumber. Next slide. So as it sits, we are trying to create a smoother process. It is a disjointed process currently. It's moving better. It's going to a better place. But historically, we have required a inspection form and a video is required for submission. Typically, that is a paper form, a thumb drive, or a USB. We have moved to only digital submissions now, but still need that inspection form, need that video. So there have been multiple ways to submit that. In the past, plumbers were hand delivering these. They'd drop off the form with a USB literally taped to the form, either here at El Estero or at Public Works counter. You can imagine if a plumber has done 10 inspections and they're dropping them all off at once, if that tape gets loose, you now have a loose USB and an inspection form, and are we sure they go together? So it was just a really room for a lot of confusion on our part, plumber's part, et cetera. We're also allowing submissions via Dropbox or Google Drive. But again, there are all these different avenues where the city has to go fetch the data, look for it in multiple locations, and that becomes a challenge. Another challenge, I suppose, that we've had is the property owner and the plumber don't know the status of the case. So property owner has their inspection done, plumber turns in the video and the inspection form to the city, and it is in a, we're in the process of reviewing it. But that timeline, there is no notification, there's no communication on where we're at in the process. So the property owner and the plumber might not know. Maybe we've reviewed it and we've sent out a letter via mail, and nobody's aware of it. So question marks on the status and of the case. I just mentioned sending out via mail, snail mail. So once we do review a video and we call out any defects, or maybe it's in great working condition and they're receiving that certification of compliance, it goes out in the mail. And as we know, the mail can take 2 to 3 days. So slow process. And then video storage has been a challenge. Where do we store the video? Who owns it? So we really encourage our property owners to ask for a copy of their video. Hopefully the plumber makes multiple copies. We have had instances where a case will be open for several months and nobody has a copy of the video anymore because the city is no longer storing them. So again, this process of the video inspection submittal has just been very chaotic in the past, and we are really moving towards a much smoother process, and Forward Lateral is really the software that will be able to do that. Next slide, please. So we'll talk about Forward Lateral next. I'll go through some of the benefits and then we will actually give you a demo of the software, which is really exciting. So Forward Lateral is an interface between the city, the plumbing contractor, and the property owner. And it is a web-based program for uploading and reviewing the CCTV inspections. And the really unique part about this is that it includes the property owner in the process. Mr. Lombardi and Mr. Jones had spoken about their software that they use for their programs, but it's really internal software, the OMS, the IT pipes, that's internal software to the city. So Forward Lateral includes the property owner in that process, it includes the plumber in that process, and that is something that's really, really beneficial to all parties involved. Next slide. So first, a quick history of Forward Lateral. It was developed to assist everyone involved with the sewer lateral inspection process. Like I mentioned, property owner, plumbing contractor, the municipality or the sanitary agency. Each one of these parties has different needs, but all of their needs are being met through this software. Next slide. So I'm going to talk about the benefits of each, and then we'll jump into that demo. Property owner benefits, and this is really what has we're really excited about, is that the property owner is involved. I can't say that enough. It's just they haven't been, other than slip staff picking up the phone or the property owner picking up the phone and contacting us, they haven't really been able to be involved through every step of the process. So Forward lateral allows for much more efficient communication. When a plumber submits a video, the property owner will get a notification. So they do their inspection, the property owner now knows, excuse me, now knows that the video has been uploaded to Forward Lateral. They'll get a notification. Once the city has reviewed that video, they will get a notification. And then we can also send our repair letters, the city can send our repair letters through Forward Lateral and through snail mail to get that communication out to them. And this is really important because the property owner can understand what stage of the process their case is. Very, very good news for the property owner. They're not questioning what's happening. And it removes the unknowns from the process. So it's very transparent. The other really great thing is the property owner is able to view their video, one, and then they can see the defects that have been called out on their lateral. So they can see from the video what we are calling out for repair. And the other one, video storage. Video storage for up to a year for the property owner. That's really important if a repair is taking a long time, if a property owner uses a different plumber to do the repairs than did the inspection. They can now say, hey, I've got this in Forward Lateral. Let me just send you the link. Really fantastic. Next slide, please. Plumber benefits. I think the biggest benefit for the plumbers is going to be no more USBs or inspection forms. Like I mentioned earlier, having to tape a USB to a piece of paper. Hopefully they don't get mixed up or it falls in the seat crack as they're driving down to drop it off. This will save all of those headaches and the time that is being saved for driving the videos down. They can spend that in the field, do more inspections, do more repair work if they've got that extra time. Again, increased customer communication. Now the plumber doesn't have to pick up the phone and call the customer and say, hey, this is the property owner. This is where we're at in the process, because they can rely on Forward Lateral to make those notifications for them. The other benefit is the defects are coded per industry standard. So Mr. Lombardi had mentioned with the city side that we use PACP, Pipeline Assessment Certification Program. There is also a parallel program for lateral assessment, and that is for the defect identification. So plumbers with Forward Lateral, plumbers can code essentially a defect and call those out. Great option for us. Our forms, our old paper forms did have that on the back where they were supposed to call out the defects, but watching the video and having that just right there, I believe, and Jesse, the owner of Forward Lateral, can correct me on this when he comes on, I believe they can do that in real time, which is a big time saver for them. Next slide, please. And finally, the municipality benefits. Forward Lateral is a much greener option. Again, we're going back to the inspection forms and the USBs, but that was a big headache for everybody. So no more paper inspection forms, no more USBs. Forward Lateral has all of the questions and criteria that was on the inspection form in their software. Plumber just goes through and answers the questions, checks boxes. So we no longer have to keep track of a paper form. We no longer have to, what do we do with USBs once we view the video? We can now receive all of our video inspections in one location instead of looking for it in Dropbox or looking for it in Google Drive. We now know everything will come through Forward Lateral and we have one location to access all of our videos. And again, the defects, as I mentioned, plumbers are coding the defects using the industry standard. So instead of slip staff having to go through and write a paper, they are now grading the paper. So the plumbers have already called out the defects. Now we go in and we just grade their work, so to speak. And this really gives us consistency across the entire program. So we can show that the laterals are coded the same between laterals. And then lastly, storage and archive. We no longer have to purchase a server that can store the videos. Commissioner Cooney had asked about that with the CCTV videos for our sewer mains. Same challenge with our with having the private lateral videos. So now storage is on forward lateral for up to a year. Next slide. So with that, those are all the benefits. As you can tell, they are all, a lot of them overlap. But I would like to introduce Jesse Eisenstadt. He is the owner of Forward Lateral, and he's the one who created it. So he's going to walk you guys through the software.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Galen, commissioners, staff. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today to do this for you. I started out, I'm from the software world and the real estate world. I'm not an engineer. I was permitting an ADU on the west side and a few years ago, and I had my first inspection, which was done as Galen showed. The first inspection, I guess, was lost. You know, the plumber blamed the city blamed the plumber. So they had to come back and redo it. And then they do another inspection, and then I get something in the mail a few weeks later that says, I actually still have it, coffee stain and everything, that still says the thumb drive didn't play. So on the third inspection, I'm sitting there in that same driveway. You saw the picture of me holding the iPad a few minutes ago. And I just had my moment. I thought, you know, I'm 35, I'm from Santa Barbara, and I know software. I can do something about this. And what that was is Forward Lateral. That's what I'd like to just give you a crash course on right now. So here we go. Sharing my screen, the main screen. All right. I'll just get can I just get a confirmation that everyone can see that? I can see that on the side screen. Great. Okay, so Forward Lateral is a web application, and this is a real express demo, about 10 minutes. But for this, you know, let's just pretend like I'm the plumbing contractor. I was just outside of this guy, Jesse's house, and I did the CCTV inspection, and I have my thumb drive, and you know, I pull out my computer, or I send it to my smartphone or tablet to upload. And some plumbers do this outside of the property. Some just wait and do it, you know, when they get back home. And so this is a test account. So I'm just going to go ahead and log in and pretend like I'm the plumber in this demo. So when the plumber logs in, this is what they see. This is their dashboard, and they have all their inspections right here. And they can see the status of the inspection, whether it's been submitted, it's in progress, the date, of course, who the property owner is, and then the municipality review, like, has this thing not been submitted by me, the plumber, approved, pending review, meaning it's waiting for review, and just keeping track of this stuff. I spent so much time with plumbers in the field before I built this, just watching their workflow. And I realized just how much of a challenge organization was. So I already started an inspection. You just click one, start a new inspection. It's our only button. And so I already started one just in the interest of time. So what we did is we basically broke down the city inspection form into 6 steps. There's improvements on every step. Like, for example, when you type in the property address, it locks it in with Google. And then you get a visual confirmation on exactly where this property is. So we're really making sure to mate the inspection with the actual property. And then the plumber, you know, has the property contact's name. This is my wife. Hello, Carolina. And then her email address in this demo. And you can add as many emails as you want, and email is the primary form of communication as the process continues. So that you would go down, hit save and continue. Here is our inspection form for you engineers out there. this stuff is very cool because it's standardized. So when this pushes into ArcGIS at the end of this, that is really nice to have all that standardized. And again, for plumbers, it's really fast. You just type in pipe size 4, right? You're not writing 4 or anything like that. The reason for the inspection, for me, it was, you know, that ADU way back when, but we have sewer lateral inspection program or whatever. Some quick buttons that ask you great questions. We can get into that more in a longer demo another time. This is probably my favorite part of the whole application, which is the map. You actually draw this map and then you have the ability to export these lines in ArcGIS mated to this data right back up here. So this is super useful for the property owners, for the plumbers and the municipality, just trying to understand, like, what is this property? See this little, our little orange friend right here? You drag them down. And if you're down at the city, you know, and you haven't seen, you know, these properties right there. Okay, this is the property we're looking at, and there's a clean out right there. And you can kind of really get it right on the line. So that's nice. You can also add a new lateral segment if you need to, and then label them over here. So that is great. Lateral notes, just in case you wanted to write something. We'll save and continue. The ability to upload attachments and photos. This is nice. Upload video. So here's the CCTV video right here. We convert old media on the background. So even old DVD machines work, and it's converted so it simply plays. It simply plays. So when property owners get a link to their inspection, they just tap the link and it plays because it's all optimized for mobile and just for being a web app in 2021. Here's the inspector summary. I just wrote a few sentences in. Here we go, step 5, mark observations. So this is what Galen was speaking about, and the ability to just play the video. You can go twice as fast, frame by frame, think Super Bowl. And then we have the ability to click on what the plumber has called out and go through there. So if the property owner, say I'm the property owner and I don't understand what's going on with this lateral, and I call the city staff asking, they can say, well, hey, let's go into your inspection. Click on inspection observation number 2 or number 1. See that thing? Yeah, that's a big collapse right there. And that's why we're asking you to do this. So it's a forward-facing educational tool. And this is something that I would have loved back when I was permitting that ADU. And okay, so here's our last step before the plumber submits it. You can see property owner, the inspector. This is fictitious, of course, because this is a demo. Here's all the observations. You can click on these again to go through it. And then here's the inspection form with our map. And it's just a really clean, forward-facing way. Here's all our questions to understand this for the property owners and also for the plumbers to make sure we're submitting good data. Without identifying the material type, you actually can't even submit the inspection. So it really helps the plumbers just gather good data and go from there. So we would save and submit to the municipality. And then when that happens, the property owner and plumber are emailed. So here I've just logged into the city side. Basically what the city does is they have a dashboard that looks similar. They see all these inspections here in different states, you know, needs additional work, pending review, approved, the date, who did it. And then let's just go into this one, which says pending review right here, which means it's time to review this thing. And here we go. This is what your average inspection likely looks like. Off the bat, I can see who the owner was, who the inspector was, meaning the plumber. You can see the video, you play it, you can add your own observations, you could look and see what the inspector did. So it's kind of this plurality approach where we're adding together the observations. And this is so critical for a forward-facing tool. You could disagree with them if you'd like, turns a different color. You can see the inspection form. Okay, our eyes are used to seeing this by now. And then the municipality review, what way are we going with this? We have 4 options, basically pass, failed, needs more work, or rejected. And then you have the ability to attach the letters. So just the fact that we're reducing snail mail, great. And the fact that have we possibly just eliminated 2,000 to 3,000 plumbing truck trips across town to El Estero per year in Santa Barbara? I hope so. It sounds like it. So these are just factors that are just huge for streamlining this process. Public notes, most of that is done in the letter in the city of Santa Barbara. Private notes like, you know, hey, spoke with the property owner, the plumber, told them about this or that, just to kind of keep track of it. And you'd hit save and submit. The email goes out as a link to the property owner plumber. Property owner hires the plumber to do the work. They can shop the work just to make sure the price is fair very easily now because it's all data in one place, key theme. And then another inspection is required as a post-fix inspection. And that would just come in as another inspection. And then instead of saying the lateral needs additional work, which is what most laterals probably are, it would be a pass. And then every time this save and submit is done, an email goes out to the property owner, no account needed. It just goes out as a simple email. You tap it, you see your inspection, full transparency. It's really great. Talk to people. We have enough of a use case now that you can talk to people who use it, and it speaks for itself. For the ArcGIS component here, this is just a totally fictitious line. I don't even know what property this is, but here is what a lateral looks like drawn in. You can click on it, and then it tells you the date it was done, the ID number. You can click on this to get back into forward lateral. And so what this is a novel data layer mapping sewer laterals and also the connections. The second we connected this up north in a district that was our first connection, they found connections that were set to be closed, but were actually in use. The amazing thing here is there's such talent with staff that they can actually use this data to do stuff like optimizing street paving schedules or capital projects, or I don't know, anything that any kind of condition assessment with push camera inspections that needs a mapping component. I mean, that's essentially what this thing does, and that's what it is. And I'd say that concludes my my demo of forward lateral, and I'm happy to give a longer demo for those interested at another time. But that's my 10-minute demo of forward lateral. So thank you to staff.
Thank you so much, Jesse. So you, again, that was a real quick and dirty demo, but you can see how great it is. It's got the communication between every party, and it's just so easy. It's all in one place. So just real quick about the costs. Costs are $30 per inspection, and those costs are covered by the plumbing contractor. Somebody hires a plumber, the plumber will charge the $30 to the property owner, most likely. If last month we had talked about the video assistance program very briefly, where the city is going to be offering up to $300 per inspection for folks that are eligible to be part of the video assistance program. And in that case, anybody who is part of that program, the VAP as we're calling it, the city will cover that $30 per inspection. So that'll be included in the $300 per inspection. Next slide. So again, I'm just going to go over the benefits again because they're great for everybody, and for everybody involved. It's a transparent process. It saves time. It increases efficiency, enhanced communication between all properties, and it stores the information in one place, which is accessible to everyone. Next slide. So next steps. We will be going to City Council on May 11th. We're going to give them a overview of SLIP on what we have done over the last several years, very similar to what we presented to you folks last month. And forward lateral will be included in that presentation. Next slide. So today we are looking to receive feedback from the Water Commission on the use of forward lateral software. So I will take any questions. And if you have any questions for Mr. Eisenstadt too, he's still here.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fair and the whole team for this presentation. Welcome to the 21st century. I mean, this is really great. I think you guys are doing a really nice job of, updating this and making it so much easier for people to be able to track their information, see the information, much more transparency and everything. So I really like that. Do we have any questions? Yes, Commissioner Davis.
It's really comment rather than question, because I think the presentation was fairly explanatory. I guess in one word, wow, I really, really love this idea and the concept. I guess the question, as Mr. Eisen said, I wish we would have had this when I did my repair on my lateral, because this is exactly what the homeowner basically would need. When I did ours, we were completely in the dark. It was a black box. I didn't even know whether the plumber was giving me the right information, let alone, the whole 9 yards. Anyway, wow, fantastic process. Congratulations on the concept. And I'm assuming this would be a licensed software type of program. Is there any idea you have on what the annual cost would be?
Commissioner Davis, Chair Keller, so it's really per inspection. The costs are per inspection. We're not going to do any licensing. The one thing that we are going to be going into an agreement with Mr. Eisenstadt on is with the video assistance program. We're anticipating up to 600 inspections per year. So we're going to put in a purchase order with forward lateral for, I believe it's up to $18,000 to cover those 600 inspections.
Great, good. That actually answers my question. And then just lastly, a comment, and Mr. Eisenstadt mentioned the Super Bowl. I like and I'm assuming the name came from a forward lateral, right? And in a forward lateral, right, if there's a problem, the ball's dead and nothing else happens. If it's not a forward lateral, then a lot of bad things can happen. So if that's where it came from, my kudos to the software people who named that sucker. So thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Okay, any public comment?
Chair Keller, we do not have public comment at this time.
Okay, well, thank you very mumuch, everybody. Okay, so Ms. Taylor, if you can please give us the water agency's update.
Yes, I'll start with COME. They're the Kachuma Operations Maintenance Board. They're working on their fiscal year 2022 operating budget. And additionally, I think something that impacts us is, if you recall, Kachuma is really beautifully and eloquently engineered and such that you can get a molecule of water will come from Lake Kachuma through Tecolote Tunnel down the South Coast Conduit to Cater, where it is treated and can come down to our offices entirely under gravity. So there's no pumping is needed. However, if you recall, in our previous drought, where the levels of Lake Kachuma got so low that it actually dropped down below the inlet to Tecolote Tunnel, and we had to dispatch a barge with pumps on it to actually pump the water up through the tower and into Tecolote Tunnel. And it was really costly and expensive, but we had water. We got the water. That's how we got water out of Kachuma. So currently, with the current water status and the possible pending drought conditions that we might be entering into, they are proposing rescheduling their big capital projects where they want to install the secured pipeline. If you recall, we had a floating pipeline that was temporary in the lake, and that they've decided and have approved plans to install a permanent pipeline to what was known as Site 1. That was it was near in the shallower area near the tower. They were going to put in a secured pipeline at that point, and plan to deploy the barge by fiscal year 2022. So that's the big change for us. So I really appreciate their planning because we don't want to be scrambling at the last minute with that. As for CCRB, what you saw today on consent was ratification of their budget. That is going to go to council on May 11th. The city's portion is about 40% or 41%, which is $468,000. And it's actually 6% less than it was last year because they're anticipating less legal work. The two big items they have are, number one is the Kachuma Project Federal Biological Opinion. The United States Bureau of Reclamation, or USBR, has been operating the Kachuma Project under a biological opinion that was issued in 2000. And they're working on a new one. And so the USBR is continuing to work on preparing a biological assessment for the National Marine Fisheries to use in preparation for a new biological opinion that will govern future operations at Lake Kachuma. And CCRB, how they fit in is they're providing technical assistance on the federal consultation process, which involves strategizing on how to protect the river's natural resources while ensuring the Kachuma project, as well as the city's, the long-term availability of the water supply in Lake Kachuma. And the second item they're working on is the Kachuma Project State Water Rights Order. The State Water Resources Control Board adopted a new water rights order for the Kachuma project in 2019. And the new order directs the USBR to release more water from Bradbury Dam during wetter years for the steelhead. And the city staff are working with CCRB's technical staff to support the USBR with creating multiple detailed plans required to comply with the new with the new water rights order. And then moving to CCWA, our state water project annual allocations for water year 2022 are at 5%. It ties the lowest allocation, which happened in 2014. And also hot on their list is Amendment 21 of the State Water Project Contract. That's the water management options. It gives us options for buying and selling and transferring water. And 26 of the 29 state water project contractors have approved the amendment, Amendment 21. And those who have not, who have not are above the delta. And so the amendment would not assist them. So they have not signed it, of course. So that would make us the only contractor south of the delta that has not signed Amendment 21, which really gives us, the ability to play in the water game with, again, buying, selling, transferring water. The deadline for approving Amendment 21 is April 29th. And as you know, the Board of Supervisors have been hearing this item for the last few months. And their next meeting is next Tuesday on April 20th. So as of yesterday, the CCWA board authorized staff to basically send a letter to the county flood control district reiterating their continued objection to any district conditions. That's the problem with Amendment 21. The Board of Supervisors is wanting to condition it and really handcuff us and limit our abilities for the buying and selling of water. And so, the CCWA is, again, sending a letter to the county flood districts reiterating their position that they really want the county board of supervisors to just approve Amendment 21 without any conditions. And the schedule is just so tight. We really, as of yesterday's meeting at CCWA, we really didn't know what the district staff report was going to be to the Board of Supervisors, and it was made public today and with their agenda, posting of their agenda. So while at the beginning of this meeting, I was actually reading the staff report, which basically says it's recommending that the Board of Supervisors approve and adopt a resolution to approve the Water Management Tools Amendment, which is Amendment 21, to the State Water Project Supply Contract, subject to certain limitations to maintain local water supply. And this is the big unknown, what these certain limitations are. And so that'll be interesting to see what is unveiled on Tuesday. I did take a brief look at their presentation that they're giving, and there was one, I took a snapshot of the one slide that says to implement the conditions outlined in the resolution and the staff report, which are to allow CCWA to seek water. So they're going to recommend that they do sign, the report's going to recommend that the Board of Supervisors do sign Amendment 21 and approve of it. But the conditions are to allow CCWA to seek water for future purchase, and to work with CCWA to keep the State Water Project water in county to protect local supplies. So that'll be interesting to see what the details of that are, and to continue discussions with CCWA on addressing water supply issues. So I think the devil is going to be in the details. So with that, we'll have to see how the Board of Supervisors votes on next Tuesday, and really what the conditions they are going to be insisting on. So with that ends my report for our water agencies. I'll take any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Ms. Taylor. So again, we're still waiting for the CCWA to finalize their thinking. Okay, any questions or comments? Okay. Any public comment? Sorry, Councilor Member Sneddon.
Sorry, I was hesitating on whether to comment further on this. And Ms. Taylor, your summary is always puts all these different agencies and their interrelationship in perspective for us, and I'm really grateful for that. This and then the 21 issue is I'm wondering if there's any role for water commissioners in communicating with Board of Supervisors or in any way, and that's not a directive. It's maybe a question for the water commissioners if they felt a need to do that. It really does hinder our ability to manage our own diversified water portfolio and puts us out of step with the rest of the state in terms of our abilities to buy and sell water on the open market. So you really characterized all that really well, and I just wanted to thank you for that, but also maybe put that to the commission if there was an interest in that.
Thank you, Council Member Sneddon. I have been in contact with some of the boards of supervisors, and I believe Commissioner Davis has also, but yeah, I mean, there's certainly always room, and I think we've been sort of active in trying to, at least provide our perspective and see if we can, influence their decisions correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, Chair Keller, I agree. I've also talked to some of the supervisors themselves. Also, I think we did basically go on record, and at their last meeting, they had the action of the Water Commission basically asking for approval of Amendment 21 on the record from the Commission unanimously.
Yeah. But thank you very much. Okay, any other comments at this point? Do we have any public comment?
Chair Keller, we do not have public comment.
Okay, thank you very much. So moving on to our last item, the Water Resources Manager's report from Ms. Plessy.
Good morning, Chair Keller, Commissioners. I'm excited to present the manager's report. You get these reports and these graphs every month. And so Dakota, Corey, and myself are here to really explain these graphs and details to not only some of our new members, but also we are publishing this report with the meeting minutes. So to the public, if they are looking at these reports and wondering what they all mean, we have the opportunity to explain them today. But before we start, I wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping and kind of let you guys know what's coming up for May in the May schedule. In May, we will be presenting the draft Urban Water Management Plan to Water Commission. We will also be providing the same presentation to Council the following week on May 25th. We normally don't do this, but we want enough time for not only Water Commission, but the council members and the public to comment on this draft. The final draft will be presented at council on June 29th. So we want to make sure that we get all of your comments on the 25th. You have that opportunity in that entire month to provide us any comments you have on that draft. So when it does go to council, it is just the draft in May. And I just wanted to make that really clear. I also wanted to let you know on May 3rd, we will be putting the draft report on the website, and we can send you guys, the Water Commission, a link to that website that week, so you have enough time to review it for the May 25th presentation of the draft report. So just wanted to let you guys know a little bit of that schedule for the water management plan. So with that, we will start with our presentation and explanation of all these graphs. I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Corey for the first portions of explaining these graphs.
Thank you, Ms. Flessy. My name is Dakota Corey, and I'm the water supply analyst for the city. And as Ms. Flessy described, I'm just going to do a quick walkthrough for some of these reports that we provide each month, both for the public and for Water Commission's benefit. And then I also wanted to let you know that we will be coming back to Commission next month with a full water supply update. You heard Ms. Taylor mention in her report that the allocation on the state water project is tied for the lowest in record at 5% this year. And so you're probably hearing out in the public that the state is looking at drought conditions. We've had record low precipitation. And so these reports really kind of help us put that in perspective for the city itself. And so I'm just going to point where you can find some of that information. And then, like I said, I will be back next month with a more detailed report on our water supply situation. So this first report is our planned and actual spreadsheet. And at the beginning of each water year, I project how much of each of our sources of water we'll be using to meet demands. And so you'll see that each source, which is color coded, and I'll show why those colors are important in a minute, has both a planned column and an actual column. And so the plan shows how we expect to use that source throughout the water year. And then each month I go through and I calculate our actual production of each of those sources, and we can compare and see kind of how we're tracking through the water year. The most important piece of information on this report currently, I would say, is the fourth column from the left, which is our balance in the Kachuma project. And you'll see that there's kind of a gray square there. I know that the font is probably pretty small in this presentation. But what that shows is the city's current storage of Kachuma water in Lake Kachuma. So, you know, there's about 119,000 acre feet of water stored in Kachuma. Currently, of that total volume of water, the city has over 25,000 acre feet stored. And that's really equal to more than 2 years of our entire water supply. So what that means is if we are going back into drought conditions, we have about 2 years of supply stored in Kachuma. And that's really a testament to how we've been managing our resources over the last few years, using resources like desal, which allows us to store more water in Kachuma if we're going into dry conditions. We can go to the next slide. So in this graph, this is really just a graphical representation of all the numbers you just saw on the previous slide. And so you'll see there's two different graphs on the top and the bottom. And in the left column, we have the planned, and in the right, we have the actuals to date. And the difference between the top graph and the bottom graph is the top graph has the planned all the way through the water year. So you'll see that we expect to use just under 12,000 acre feet of water, both potable and recycled, for this water year. And then the right-hand column in that top graph shows where we are to date. And so you can see that we are kind of tracking as planned. We're using a mix of Gibraltar water, Kachuma water, recycled water, and desalination to meet our demands this year. Gibraltar now is pretty much dry. It typically during after the rainy season, we use up as much Gibraltar water as we can so that we lower the storage volume in case we get more rains and we can fill it up again. So we've turned Gibraltar off and we won't see that bluish gray bar growing anymore. We'll start using other sources. And then the bottom graph shows the plan to date in the left column. And so that's why it's not as tall. It's what we'd expect to use of each of our sources up through the end of March, which is what's represented here. So you can see that we have used a little bit more water overall than we've planned, but with only in a couple hundred acre feet. And we've used more Gibraltar water than we planned, and now we'll start using more Kachuma. We can move on to the next slide. This is a graphic of our total potable and recycled water. We could say demand, but it's actually production, since we produce water to meet demand. And there's a couple of interesting things to point out here. We have the black solid line, which is our production since 1985. And so you can see in the late 80s, early 90s, we had our first big drought. And then we have a rebound of demand coming out of that drought. It never did rebound all the way back to where it was previously. And then you'll see it fall off again in around 2012, 13, and that's the most recent drought that we're coming out of. Interesting to look here at the dashed line with the X's, which is also black. That was our demand projection from our 2011 long-term water supply plan. And we have a new demand projection now from our enhanced urban water management plan, which is the blue line with the diamonds. And you can see that we had to readjust our starting point for the new demand in the enhanced urban water management plan, because we did have our demand drop off so much in the most recent drought. And we do expect a rebound. So you see that blue line climbing fairly steeply, and that's actually a component of two things. One is we expect some rebound in our demand coming out of the drought, and two, we'll be supplying Montecito Water District beginning in 2022. So you see that increase in demand from that as well. So all the work that we've done in the enhanced urban water management plan, we'll be tracking this demand closely. You can see so far our actuals are really matching up with what we've projected. And we're gonna keep an eye on that over the next couple of years and make sure that it's tracking as we expect. Next slide. This is a graphic of our water use measured in gallons per capita or per person per day. And that's a metric that allows us to look at individual customer demand. So it has population in the denominator. Something that is interesting to point out about gallons per capita per day measurements is you don't really want to compare them community to community, because there's a lot of factors that go into them. For example, in Santa Barbara, we have a lot of workers that commute in for work, maybe not so much right now during COVID, but from other areas. So, you know, we have people that live in Ventura and work in Santa Barbara. We also typically have high tourism numbers, and all of those workers that come in and those tourists aren't counted in our population. Our population is just our city resident population. And so we could have sort of overall in the city a higher water use per person, because actually all those people that are coming in for the day are using water as well. So what we're looking at on this graph is you have the red line with the dots. That was our SBX 7-7 target. And so SBX 7-7 asked water users to reduce their water use by 20% by 2020. And if you look at the blue line, you can see that we far exceeded that target. So our target was 117 gallons per capita per day. And we came in, I think we're at like 92 gallons per capita per day at the end of March. So we clearly beat our target. Some of that probably had to do with the drought, but it's also a testament to the way that our customers embrace water conservation in Santa Barbara. And now what we're really paying attention to moving forward, since 2020 has come and we've met that target, is our residential gallons per capita per day. So you'll see that there's a green dashed line with some diamonds, and you can see a real seasonal variation. It goes up and down. That's water use variation based on the seasons. So we have higher water use in the summers and lower water use in the winters. And then you'll see the green line that's just a series of, I think it's circles, and it's more level. And so what that is it's a 12-month running average of those residential data points from each month. And so that kind of really smooths it out and shows on average what our residential water use is at. We're currently sitting at 67 gallons per capita per day for our residential customers. Our target is 72 or less, and so we are meeting that target. We don't have new state regulations yet. So this is going to be a component of regulations moving forward from the state, but they're still promulgating what those targets are going to look like. So right now we're tracking it, and so we understand where our customers stand. And then as the state unrolls new regulations, we'll be able to plan accordingly. Next slide. And you've probably seen these graphs before. This is our 3-month outlook put together by NOAA for temperature. And if you look at the colored bands, over the next 3 months, NOAA is producing a 40% chance that we're going to have above average temperatures. So we're expecting warmer than normal temperatures moving into the early summer. And if we go to the next slide, this is the precipitation graph, and the EC means equal chance. So we're falling in that white EC band, which means that we have an equal chance of below average or above average precipitation. But really, if you think about it, it's mid-April right now. The rainy season is kind of wrapping up for us. And so we don't expect much rain moving forward in the next 3 months anyways. So equal chance doesn't mean a whole lot. I mean, we don't typically get rain at this time of year anyways. And so the overall picture is we've had very low rainfall this year, but we have expected a hot summer. So those are conditions that are shaping up to look like drought conditions. But like I said, we do have a lot of water stored in Kachuma right now. So the city is sitting in a pretty good place. And as I said, I will provide a more detailed analysis on that next month. Next slide. This is our storage in Lake Kachuma. This is overall storage in Lake Kachuma. And so the green line is current storage. As I mentioned earlier, we're sitting at about 119,000 acre feet in Lake Kachuma. And of that, the city's storage is over 25,000 acre feet. So the city's water of that total is a pretty big portion right now. And the black line, just for comparison's sake, is storage that started in the past drought from 1986 to 1993. So we can kind of see how that water is used as we move through dry periods in Lake Kachuma. Next slide. And this is our recycled water production. It shows water use or recycled water production from 2019 through 2021 present. And so you can see in March that we produced quite a bit of recycled water and that the plant is working well. We're not blending much potable water in that system right now. So you see that seasonal demand in recycled water, and that's tracking as planned. Ms. Fussy, I believe that's the end of my slides. You may take over.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Corey. So the remaining slides are more of the El Estero slides. So this just gives you a history of how much flow is coming into El Estero. What's really interesting to us is the COVID impacts. You can tell from 19 to 20 how much we reduce the amount of flow coming into El Estero. And with everything opening up, this will get more and more interesting whether or not we return back to those inflow of 2019. Next slide. The following slides are for SLIP. And what these are mainly for is to show kind of workload. This slide, SLIP 4, is a repair order that is initiated by our SLIP team. So if it's either we noticed something in our CCTV or they had a spill. So we've issued them a letter, they've got it inspected, and in that inspection, we noticed some defects and they needed a repair. That's our SLIP 4. Our SLIP 8 is they came in for a permit for a remodel ADU, and we asked them for a review of their lateral. We noticed some defects, and they have been ordered a repair prior to receiving their building permit. So that just indicates how much we're finding in our CCTV program versus how many slip cases come in for permitted cases of people coming in on their own to do add-ons or anything else to their homes. Next slide, please. This is another workload item, just showing how much we've initiated cases and how much are coming into our building and safety review. So you can tell which ones in our building review. Really, we haven't seen much of a curtail with the COVID impacts with our permit review. Maybe a slight one, but not as big as one as we initially thought. Next slide. This is also another workload. These are the video inspections. So how many inspections did the city initiate and how much we reviewed? This is a really good workload indicator of the big part of, say, for instance, in December, how many inspection notices we put out. And we then try to staff up knowing that a lot of these video inspections in about a month will be coming to us for review. And so we tried to gear up our team accordingly. Next slide. And lastly, this will be showing our private lateral spills versus our sanitary sewer overflow spills. So this really tracks on how well our SLIP program is doing in conjunction with our collections team as well. Next slide. And this is our COVID one. So this is our famous COVID which we've all been monitoring for the past year. So it's still trending down, which is a good thing. And hopefully it'll be going down even more with all of the vaccination rollouts open to everyone. So that'll be interesting to see over the next few months. And with that, we'll take any questions or comments. But I thank you for the opportunity. I'm glad we had enough time to thoroughly explain each graph for everyone.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Any questions or comments? We're a little bit over time, so just want to make sure we don't go too far. Yes, Commissioner Davis.
Just really quickly, remind me again what the water year is, month-wise?
The water year begins on October 1st and goes through September 30th.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So we will then be closing off this meeting of the Water Commission, and our next meeting will be Thursday, May 20th at 9 a.m. Thank you very much, and see you in a month.